It's a pretty unique approach, you know?
It really is. You've got poetry, historical excerpts, and these really insightful lessons on liberty all woven together.
And the whole thing is told through the eyes of this character called the Sad Tree, who's kind of like this wise old observer of American history.
I love that framing device. It's like this constant reminder that history is alive.
Right. It's not just dates and names in a book.
For sure. And one of the things that immediately struck me about this source was how it emphasizes the fragility of knowledge.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Especially when it comes to our own history.
Exactly. And I think that's where the sad tree metaphor really hits home.
Absolutely. I mean, the prologue just grabs you right away.
It does. What is it? What use are stories if none can read?
Yeah. When voices fade and pages burn, the past repeats, yet none discern. Pretty powerful stuff, right?
It's a reminder that if we don't actively engage with history and learn from it, we're doomed to repeat the same mistakes.
Totally. And that's what makes this source so much more than just a history book.
It's a call to action in a lot of ways.
Definitely. Okay, so one of the things I was really impressed by was how the poem tackles complex ideas about government.
Oh, yeah, like the whole Trinity of Sovereignty thing in Canto 1.
Yes, that part where it explains the three branches of government. I mean, I felt like I finally understood the balance of power in a way that actually made sense.
It's a brilliant metaphor. And you know what's amazing? That concept of the Trinity of Sovereignty is just as relevant today as it was back then.
Oh, absolutely.
Just think about how the system of checks and balances plays out in current events.
With the different branches kind of pushing back against each other.
Exactly. It's a constant dance, and understanding that dynamic is so crucial for navigating the political landscape we live in.
It's like the founding fathers were playing 3D chess or something.
Right. Way ahead of their time.
Okay, but speaking of foundational documents, we got to talk about the Bill of Rights in Canto 2.
Oh, yeah, that section is so well done.
I love how it uses these really memorable lines to capture the essence of each amendment.
It does. Like, for the Fourth Amendment, there's that line. Your privacy, secure and tight, no search or seize without the right.
I know. It's almost catchy, but it really makes you stop and think about how important that right is.
It does, and it's not just about memorizing the words. You know, it's about understanding the historical context.
Like why those specific freedoms were considered so vital by the founding father.
Exactly what were they responding to? What fears and concerns did they have? It's fascinating to delve into that.
And you know what else is cool about this source? It doesn't just stop at the first 10 amendments.
You're right. It goes on to cover all 27 amendments, which I have to admit I wouldn't have been able to name off the top of my head before reading this.
Me neither. It's a good reminder that the Constitution has evolved a lot over time.
It has, and some of those later amendments are super interesting because they really reveal a lot about the ongoing struggle for equality and representation in America.
Like the 18th Amendment prohibition.
Oh, yeah.
Looking back, it's a great example of how even well-intentioned policies can have these unintended consequences.
Totally. It makes you think about the complexities of social change and how we need to be really mindful of those potential ripple effects.
For sure. And then you've got the 19th Amendment finally giving women the right to vote, and the 22nd Amendment limiting presidents to 2 terms.
And the 26th Amendment lowering the voting age to 18.
It's like each of those amendments marks a turning point in this long fight for a more inclusive America.
Definitely, they're reminders that progress isn't always linear, but that the battle for liberty is a constant process.
Okay, so before we move on, I have to bring up the inclusion of Emil Lazarus's The New Colossus in this source.
Oh, yeah, that's a classic for a reason.
Yeah, and the fact that they include the whole poem really emphasizes how powerful that message is.
It's hard not to feel something when you read those lines about welcoming the tired, the poor, the huddled masses yearning to breathe free.
It's such a moving vision of America as this beacon of hope, you know?
It is, but it also makes you think about how that ideal has held up over time.
Right. Like, has the American dream really lived up to its promise for everyone?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is, and it's one that this source really pushes us to grapple with.
I think that tension between aspiration and reality is something that runs throughout American history.
It does. The ideal of liberty has always been at the heart of the American story, but it's also a concept that's constantly being challenged and redefined.
Exactly. And that brings us back to the sad tree.
The silent witness to all the struggles and triumphs of American history.
It's like this living embodiment of the nation's journey, wouldn't you say?
Totally rooted in the past, but still reaching for the future.
Absolutely. And the source even describes the tree as having like 200 rings, 4 decades more.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's symbolizing that long and complex journey of American democracy, you know?
Each ring representing a year, an event, a turning point.
Exactly. And just like that tree, America has been through a lot, right? Storms, wounds.
But also times of incredible growth and change.
For sure, it's a powerful image.
And I love how the source keeps coming back to this idea that the sad tree has endured through it all.
Yeah, like it's seen it all.
It's rooted in the past, but still reaching for the future.
That's a great way to put it.
There's a line that says, to heal a forest, sow its first seed. What do you think? Is that like a call to action for us?
Oh, totally. It's like it's challenging us to think about how we contribute to building a more just and equitable society, you know?
Yeah, and it makes me think about how those seeds of liberty haven't always been planted peacefully.
That's a good point. I mean, the sad tree might have even witnessed those debates and struggles surrounding the ratification of the Bill of Rights.
Oh yeah, for sure. Those freedoms weren't just handed out. They were hard won.
Through debate, disagreement, and sometimes even conflict.
Exactly. It's easy to take those freedoms for granted, but they came at a cost.
They did.
You know, there's this line in the final canto that really struck me. Born to this soil with hope unspoiled. It's beautiful, but it also feels a bit naive, doesn't it?
That's interesting. I see what you mean. Are we really living up to that ideal of unspoiled hope? It's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, the source acknowledges that there are challenges. Right.
It doesn't shy away from the complexities of history at all.
Like there's that line that says, liberty is not bestowed, but fought, defended, earned, and sown.
It's a reminder that freedom is something we have to constantly work towards, not something we can just assume will always be there.
And it makes you think about those early Americans who fought for independence.
Right. They put everything on the line for this idea of liberty.
That's a lot to live up to.
And the source actually brings in the voices of some of those early Americans to really drive that point home.
Oh, like who?
Well, there's that famous quote from Benjamin Franklin, "A republic, if you can keep it."
Oh, yeah, that's a pretty stark warning, right?
It's a reminder that democracy isn't a guarantee.
We have to participate, we have to be vigilant, and we have to stay committed to those core principles.
Exactly. It's so easy to get complacent to think those freedoms will always be there.
But Franklin's warning suggests otherwise. It's like he's saying, don't mess this up.
Yeah, and then you've got James Madison arguing that through knowledge shall men's hope renew.
He was a big believer in education.
He believed that understanding our history is absolutely crucial for safeguarding liberty.
Which brings us right back to that sad tree and all those lessons it holds.
It's a keeper of knowledge, a reminder that we have to learn from the past if we want to build a better future.
I love how this source weaves together all these different quotes.
It does. It's like a conversation across time, you know, connecting the struggles of the past to the challenges we face today.
It really is.
And it all culminates in this powerful call to action. Let none who perished die in vain. Let freedom's spark through storms remain.
Those lines are so powerful.
It's a reminder of the sacrifices that were made to secure those freedoms and the responsibility we have to carry that torch forward.
It's like a battle cry, urging us to protect and preserve those ideals that America stands for.
And it all circles back to that sad tree, this silent witness to everything. It reminds us that its story is our story.
A story of resilience, hope, and the pursuit of liberty.
Exactly.
I got chills when I read the final lines of the poem. Let courage rise and prove its worth. We shall not perish from the earth.
It's this beautiful affirmation of the human spirit, you know, this belief that even when things are tough, we can overcome challenges and build a better future.
And that it's possible, right?
Yeah, but it's not just about blind optimism either. The source leaves us with this final thought-provoking question inspired by George Washington's farewell address.
Well, yeah, where he warns about the dangers of political parties.
That's the one Washington cautioned against: the potential for political factions to subvert the power of the people and to usurp for themselves the reins of government.
And that raises a really crucial question for us today. How do we safeguard liberty in a world where things feel so polarized?
Where there's so much distrust in institutions.
That's a pretty sobering thought, especially considering everything else we've discussed about the fragility of freedom. It's almost like this deep dive has given us a whole new way to see history and our own role in shaping the future.
Yeah, it really makes you wonder, are we doing enough to protect those freedoms, or are we just kind of sleepwalking into a future where those rights slowly disappear, you know?
It is a lot to think about, but that's what I appreciate about this source. It doesn't give you those easy answers. It makes you really think critically and wrestle with these big questions.
Oh, it does. And it reminds us that, you know, engaging with history, especially these foundational documents and these stories of struggle and triumph, it's not just some academic thing.
Yeah, it's not just something you do in school and then forget about.
Right.
Exactly. It's about understanding the values that our whole society is built on and then figuring out how we can actually do something to protect those values.
And I think this source makes a really compelling case for that.
It's like we've been walking through this museum of American ideals,
Yeah,
looking at these artifacts of liberty and debating their meaning.
I like that analogy.
But now we have to step back out into the real world
Yeah.
where those ideals are constantly being tested.
Right. So what do we do with all this insight?
That's the question, isn't it?
It is. And for me, the biggest takeaway from this source is that connection between knowledge and liberty and responsibility.
Oh,
Like the sad tree's warning that the past repeats, yet none discern.
I mean, that's a powerful statement right there.
It really underscores how important it is to understand history, not just as a bunch of facts, but as a guide for how we live today.
Right. It's not enough to just know what happened in the past. We have to learn from it.
Exactly. And we can't just passively inherit these freedoms. We have to actually work to protect them.
Right. And I think the way this source mixes poetry and historical excerpts and personal reflections really helps to get that point across.
It makes it so much more engaging.
Yeah, it's not just reading about history. It's like feeling it, connecting with it on a deeper level.
And I think that's what inspires action.
You're so right. It's not enough to just understand these things in our heads.
We need to feel it in our hearts.
Yeah, that sense of urgency, that responsibility to keep those freedoms alive.
And this source definitely does a great job of sparking that passion.
Before we wrap things up, there's one last quote I want to mention. It's from George Washington. And I feel like it's especially relevant now considering all this stuff about political parties.
Okay, which one is that?
He said, "If the freedom of speech is taken away, then dumb and silent we may be led, like sheep to the slaughter."
Wow, that's a pretty intense image.
It is. It really drives home how fragile liberty is and how crucial it is to protect our right to speak our minds.
To disagree, to challenge the way things are.
Exactly. Even in a democracy, we can't take those rights for granted.
And you know what that reminds me of? The sad tree's call to action, to heal a forest, sow its first seed.
Oh, yeah.
We all have a part to play in nurturing those seeds of liberty,
And standing up for what we believe in.
in making sure that the voices of the past continue to guide us.
So as we finish up our deep dive into roots of liberty,
It's been quite a journey.
it really has.
Yeah.
I want to leave you with this thought. What seeds will you sow? How will you help carry on this legacy of freedom and justice that we've been talking about?
It's a big question, but an important one.
It is. And I hope this deep dive has given you some food for thought.
Me too.
Thanks so much for joining us on this incredible exploration.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep seeking knowledge, keep asking those tough questions, and keep the spirit of liberty alive and well.